Hello guys, FurballTheHammy, your friendly neighborhood hamster, is here for our first video on this channel. Now before I begin, I would like to announce that this video is an inspiration from another anime channel called Mother's Basement, who has an anime series known as What's in an OP, and I really wanted to make such a video for one of my favorite anime called Happy Sugar Life, which she has yet to cover. Now before I begin, there is a spoiler alert here for those of you who have yet to watch Happy Sugar Life, and if you don't like having major plot points being spoiled, please skip the video and go actually watch the anime. The anime is quite worth your time. And with that, don't say I didn't warn you, and let's begin with the video. Happy Sugar Life starts off with a pink suite representing Sato, with a blue suite accompanying it representing Shio in the anime. The suites then explode into an assortment of treats and are then thrown into an empty jar, likely referring to the symbolism jars are used in Happy Sugar Life to depict the state of one's sanity and happiness in life, where an empty jar leads to someone losing their sanity and purpose, while a filled jar represents someone who is leading a fulfilled life with a stable state of mind. The two suites representing Shio and Sato exploding into sweets and entering an empty jar refers to the joys and stability of her mental state that Sato derives from being with Shio together. The scene is then panned out to the balcony where Sato and Shio do their wedding vows, which they do regularly in the anime, which is also a physical representation and an act of loyalty and trust to one another for life, possibly to give Sato a peace of mind that Shio will always be with her. The title screen appears with the words moving in a jerky and unnatural motion while the screen glitches back and forth from the happy imaginary background to a gloomy and dirty background with goo dripping from the top, probably referring to the inevitable dread, despair and death as more lies and secrets are kept to maintain the unnaturally happy facade of life that Sato leads. The OP then changes to Sato and Shio sitting together in the jar as the moon hangs above them. Moons in Japanese culture are symbolic of Zen, selflessness, and enlightenment, which is also what Sato gains from being with Shio, which is finding her peace and joy in life to maintain her stable state of self, and is possibly also referring to Sato's final selfless act to protect Shio at the end in episode 12. The scene then zooms in closer, giving us a look into the lives of Sato and Shio in the jar, which is shown to be perfect and idealistic, with fluffy clouds and stars among them as they have their backs towards one another while happily smiling. However, there is another zoom utilized here which gives us an even closer up shot of Sato's eyes staring up into the sky, which then suddenly notices and turns towards us, noticing our presence. Her pupils then change into a deranged state, staring at us. This is a reference towards a sudden warmth in personality as shown throughout the anime, where her eyes change when there is a threat to a flawless and happy life. There is a fourth wall break here in the OP as she acknowledges us as a viewer who has now seen her secrets and now views us as a threat towards her idealistic life, as now we have seen her secret of holding Shio in her jar, hence the changed eyes and activating her deranged state of self, which will do whatever it takes to protect her sugar happy life. This then cuts out to a chibi of Shio dressing in angelic clothing and is holding a heart as she flies into the hand of Asahi, her brother, which she then disappears in his hands. This is a strong foreshadowing of the events of the anime here, where Shio chooses Sato instead of her brother Asahi. A side view of Asahi is then shown with a tear dropping down from his eyes, showing his agony and pain as he also used Shio similarly as a clutch for him to keep living and to find purpose via a strong familial bond which they once had. The scene then cuts to Sato in a childlike form which she is on all fours as thorns and ropes surround her, possibly referring to the toxic environment she experienced as she grew up with a deranged aunt who enjoys being beaten up by guys she seduces into her apartment. The thorns refer to her aunt's warped view of love, which involves harming herself and taking the pain from others, resulting in Sato's damaged self, and is thus possibly a reference to her environment when she was a child. Sato then looks up and sees Shio with a heart in her hand, which she gives to her, another sneaky foreshadowing of events to show Shio's final choice to be with. The juxtaposition between Shio's side, which is bright and clean, in contrast to Sato's side, which is darker with a maroon shade with thorns, emphasizes Shio's childlike innocence in contrast to Sato's corrupted and darkened mind, which Sato seeks to protect Shio from and to ultimately not experience what she did. This is then cut to Sato's adult form where a drop of blood flows down from her cheek before it zooms out to show her closing Shio's eyes while having a smile on her face. which is another emphasis on her desperation to protect Shio's purity and innocence as she tries to protect their sugar-happy life, with a smile suggesting that she is perfectly happy doing so and will do it at any cost. A picturesque background of sweets is then shown, with Shio and Sato being inside the jar, clutching each other tightly as the curtains are shown to be blown open this time, suggesting that their idealistic life may be under threat now as it is exposed. This is then cut to Shio being happily played with by possibly Sato, as there is a paper cutout of a castle in the background, possibly being a reference to the castle Sato tells Shio, which is a physical representation of their house and is where they experience true happiness and love the first time in their lives due to their warped backgrounds and environments, as seen by Shio smiling and lightly blushing in this scene. There is a sudden zoom into Shio's face as the colors are inverted, with the background turning into the warped, glitchy background shown on the title screen earlier before returning to a smiling Shio. This is likely a reference to Shio's inner conflict with her abusive family and being abandoned by her mother at a time where she was the only family member that could protect her. Shio had to come to terms with it, which she actively tries to forget, but inevitably remembers in flashbacks throughout the anime, which destabilized her state of mind and threatens her happy sugar life. The same happy background is used again, but with the colors replaced with a black and white monochromatic theme, and the jar is seen to have cracks on it. The lines moving across the screen resembles the imagery of strong winds or a hurricane which is blowing against the jar and threatening the integrity of the jar, and as such, the sanity and the happiness of Sato and Shio as well, with the winds being representative of external forces which threaten their perfect lives. Blood is then splattered again, referring to the extreme lengths Sato is willing to go to protect their lives, so much so that murder isn't out of the question. The scene then transits into a zoomed up close embrace of Sato and Shio together before a sudden cut of their jar being dropped and slammed into the ground, with remnants of glass shards surrounding it, representing the inevitable shattering of their happy sugar life. This could also be observed to be another foreshadowing of the final episode 12, where Sato sacrifices her life for Shio when they did all they could to protect their idealistic lives and were then forced to jump off a building, signifying the end of their happy sugar life and the ultimate sacrifice Sato makes, which is seen as both of them lay unconscious on the ground in the OP. The final scene then goes back to the original jar of the pink and blue candy together, but with the jar cracked this time, showing the fragility of their relationship and lives, and is then cut to show Sato eating a blue candy, emphasizing once again her dependence and reliance on Shio for her happiness, which is something she is desperate to protect, as shown by the 3 body bags hidden behind a door, which is what she had to do to preserve her own happiness as well as Shio's happiness. Ultimately, Sugar Happy Life is a psychological horror anime in a dark moe genre and a step up from School Life in terms of its gore and questions discussed in the anime, with themes such as mental illnesses, trigger events resulting in mental illnesses, and the exploration of dark and warped themes of love for those with a fractured mind, along with the main inner tensions of morality versus desire and desperation being questioned throughout the anime, where Sato, while being the protagonist and is made to be sympathized with, could also arguably be the antagonist of this anime. And with that, this is my first video in the anime genre, as I used to be a Minecraft YouTuber called FurballTheHammy, and I've decided to change my path of YouTube because of the elements and exploration anime provides me with, which shows me worldviews that I may never experience and teaches me lessons which I may have never learned. So yeah, I am now an anime YouTuber instead of a Minecraft YouTuber, but yeah, I don't really think it matters, but here's just some fun facts anyways. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed and comment any improvements I could make. And with that, this is FurballTheHammy, your friendly neighborhood weeb, signing out. See you guys in the next video.